When a woman begins to share her vulnerabilities with you, understand this clearly, something fundamental has already shifted. This isn't small talk anymore. This isn't casual attraction. Vulnerability is expensive. Psychologically, people don't spend what they can't afford to lose, and when a woman opens the door to her fears, insecurities, disappointments, or past wounds, she's already decided that you are emotionally safe enough to stand inside her inner world. Most men misunderstand this moment. They think attraction starts with confidence, looks, or charm. Those things may open the door, yes, but trust is what allows someone to stay. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's a calculated risk. From a psychological standpoint, vulnerability only appears when the nervous system relaxes. It means her guard is lowering. Her mind is no longer in defense mode around you. That alone tells you everything you need to know. Here's the deeper layer most men miss. When she shares something personal, something she doesn't tell everyone, she's not just expressing herself, she's observing you. She's watching how you handle emotional weight. Do you rush to fix her? Do you minimize her feelings? Do you turn it into a joke? Or do you remain calm, grounded, present? This is where attraction either deepens or dies quietly, because at this level, she's no longer responding to your words. She's responding to your emotional stability. Philosophically speaking, intimacy is not built through closeness alone. It's built through understanding without intrusion. When she shares her vulnerabilities, she is inviting you to witness her, not control her, not save her, not analyze her, just witness. The man who can do that without anxiety signals something rare, emotional leadership. And emotional leadership is deeply attractive because it creates safety without dependence. Notice how different this is from chasing validation. A man who seeks approval collapses under vulnerability. He panics, he overreacts, he tries too hard. But a man who understands this dynamic knows that vulnerability is not a problem to solve. It's a bridge to be crossed slowly. Your calm presence tells her, you can be yourself here, and I won't disappear. That message alone builds attachment faster than any compliment ever could. There's also a subconscious comparison happening. Whether she realizes it or not, she's comparing how you respond to how others responded in her past. If she felt dismissed before and you listen, you stand out. If she felt judged before and you remain neutral, you become different. If she felt unsafe before and you stay grounded, you become irreplaceable. This is how emotional trust rewrites attraction. And here's the truth most men don't like hearing. Once vulnerability enters the space, the chase is already over. Not because you've won her, but because the dynamic has shifted from pursuit to connection. At this stage, forcing things actually weakens attraction. The strongest move is restraint, presence, emotional intelligence, letting her reveal herself at her pace while you remain steady. This is why vulnerability is the clearest signal of genuine interest. It requires courage, it requires trust, and it only appears when a woman feels that being seen by you is safer than staying hidden. So remember this, when she shares her vulnerabilities, don't rush, don't fix, and don't perform. Stand still, listen deeply. Because the man who can hold emotional weight without flinching is the man she feels safe choosing. And in the end, attraction doesn't grow where you impress. It grows where you understand. When a woman starts seeking your perspective on her personal decisions, pay attention. This is not casual curiosity. This is not idle conversation. Psychologically, asking for someone's perspective is a subtle transfer of influence. It means your thinking matters to her. Your worldview carries weight. And that only happens when a woman already sees you as someone she respects, not just someone she enjoys talking to. Most men underestimate this signal because it doesn't look dramatic. It sounds simple. She asks what you think about her career move, her family issue, a conflict with a friend, or a difficult choice she's facing. On the surface, it seems like conversation. Underneath, it's something much deeper. She is inviting you into her decision-making process. And that is intimacy of the mind. From a psychological standpoint, people protect their autonomy fiercely. We don't ask just anyone for guidance because advice creates vulnerability. It exposes uncertainty. When a woman asks for your perspective, she is revealing that your judgment feels safe to her. She trusts that you won't manipulate, belittle, or control her thinking. That trust is rare and deeply attractive in both directions. Here's where many men make a critical mistake. They either become overly dominant, turning advice into control, or they become overly passive, afraid to say anything meaningful. Both responses weaken attraction. The key is balance. A grounded man doesn't tell her what to do. He helps her see more clearly. He offers insight, not instruction, perspective, not pressure. Philosophically, this is about leadership without force. True influence doesn't demand obedience, it invites reflection. When you speak calmly, thoughtfully, and without attachment to the outcome, you signal emotional maturity. You show that your value isn't tied to being right. And paradoxically, that makes your words more powerful. She listens not because she has to, but because she wants to. There's also something else happening beneath the surface. When she asks for your perspective, she's testing alignment. She wants to know how you think under pressure, what you prioritize, how you interpret the world. This is how long-term attraction forms. Chemistry may spark desire, but shared perspective sustains connection. If your values resonate with hers, her attraction doesn't just grow, it stabilizes. Notice how this differs from seeking validation. Validation says, tell me I'm right. Perspective says, help me see. One is ego-driven, the other is trust-driven. When she invites your perspective, she is already stepping into trust. Your job is not to impress her with intelligence, but to reveal clarity through simplicity. Speak from principle, not performance. And here's the subtle power most men miss: how you respond matters more than what you say. If you remain calm, grounded, and non-reactive, you become a psychological anchor. You show her that you can think clearly even when emotions are involved. That's attractive because it signals stability, something the human mind is constantly searching for, even if it never says so out loud. Over time, this dynamic deepens. She begins to associate clarity with your presence, calm with your voice, perspective with your energy. And once that association forms, attraction is no longer fragile. It's rooted. She doesn't just like you, she feels better thinking with you. So understand this clearly. When a woman seeks your perspective on her life, you are no longer just someone she's attracted to. You are someone she trusts with her inner compass. Treat that role with humility, not ego, with steadiness, not control, because the man who can offer perspective without pressure becomes more than desirable. He becomes influential. LBR and influence, when earned honestly, is one of the strongest forms of attraction there is. When a woman starts sharing her fears, insecurities, or past emotional wounds with you, understand this clearly: you are no longer on the outside. This is not casual openness. This is not something she does because she's bored or talkative. Psychologically, vulnerability is a selective act. People only expose what can hurt them to those they believe are safe enough not to misuse it. Most men completely misunderstand this moment. They think vulnerability is weakness, or worse, they treat it like a problem they need to fix. But what's really happening here is much deeper. When she shares something fragile, she is saying, without words, I trust you with the parts of me that shaped who I am. And that level of trust does not come before attraction. It comes after attraction has already taken root. From a psychological perspective, emotional disclosure creates bonding through risk. When someone reveals something personal, the brain releases oxytocin, the same chemical associated with attachment and connection. But here's the key: the bond strengthens not because she shared, but because of how you respond. Your reaction either deepens attraction or quietly destroys it. But a grounded man doesn't panic when vulnerability shows up. He doesn't rush to give solutions. He doesn't minimize her experience, and he definitely doesn't use it later as leverage. He listens, he stays present, he allows silence to exist without discomfort. That calm presence signals emotional strength. It tells her, I can handle depth. I won't collapse under emotional weight. Philosophically, this is where masculine steadiness meets feminine openness. One does not overpower the other. They balance. When you remain emotionally regulated while she opens up, you become a container, not a controller. And that distinction matters. Control creates resistance. Containment creates safety. Safety is what allows desire to deepen rather than fade. There's another layer most men never see. When she shares her fears or past pain, she's also observing how you process human complexity. Do you judge? Do you interrupt? Do you center yourself? Or do you allow her story to exist without needing to dominate it? This is a subconscious evaluation of emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is far more attractive long-term than charm or confidence alone. Many men think attraction is built by saying the right things. In moments like this, attraction is built by not saying too much. Presence is more powerful than performance. When you don't rush to fill the space, you signal inner security. You show that you don't need to prove value. You embody it. This is also where polarity deepens. Her openness is a movement toward you. Your steadiness is what allows that movement to continue. If you become reactive, defensive, or overly emotional yourself, the polarity collapses. But if you remain centered, she Els held, not trapped, not judged, not analyzed, held. Over time, something subtle happens. She begins to associate emotional relief with your presence. She feels lighter after talking to you, clearer, more grounded. This isn't accidental. The human mind remembers where it feels safe to land. And once a woman associates safety with a man who is calm, confident, and self-contained, attraction doesn't need constant stimulation. It sustains itself. This is why men who gossip, overshare, or emotionally dump repel without realizing it. They turn vulnerability into chaos. But the man who can witness vulnerability without absorbing it becomes rare, and rarity is magnetic. So if a woman shares her fears, her doubts, or her past with you, don't mistake it for fragility. Recognize it as trust in motion. Meet it with respect, not advice. With presence, not performance. Because the man who can hold emotional weight without losing his center becomes more than attractive, he becomes unforgettable. And once a woman feels emotionally safe with you, she doesn't just open up to you. She leans in. When she starts sharing her future plans with you, her goals, her fears about where life is going, or even her confusion about what she wants next, that's not random conversation. That is psychological alignment in motion. This is one of the most overlooked indicators of deep attraction because it doesn't feel dramatic. It feels calm, it feels almost ordinary, but beneath that calm is something powerful happening. Human beings are future-oriented creatures. We instinctively protect our sense of direction because it defines our identity. When someone talks to you about their future, they are implicitly placing you inside that mental space. Even if she's not saying, "I see you in my future," the fact that she's thinking out loud with you present means you've already passed an invisible threshold. You're no longer just someone she reacts to. You're someone she reflects with. Psychologically, this matters because planning activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for long-term thinking, trust assessment, and emotional regulation. Attraction that lives only in the moment is impulsive. Attraction that moves into the future is intentional. When she shares her aspirations or uncertainties about where she's headed, she's testing something subtle. Can this man emotionally coexist with the direction my life is moving? Most men fail this test without realizing it. They interrupt with opinions. They project their own goals onto her, or they try to impress by making her future about themselves. But strength here is restraint. Maturity is listening without hijacking the narrative. When you allow her to articulate her future without steering it, you signal respect for her autonomy. And autonomy is essential for desire. No one desires someone who tries to own their path. There's also a philosophical layer here. When someone speaks about the future, they are confronting uncertainty. The future is unknown, unstable, and uncontrollable. Sharing that uncertainty requires courage. If she does that with you, she is saying, "I trust you not to destabilize me further." That's not romance in the movie sense, but it's intimacy in its most real form. Your role in this moment is not to be a guide or a savior, it's to be grounded. Grounded men don't rush to define outcomes. They don't need to know where everything is going to feel secure. And that emotional steadiness creates contrast. While the world pressures her to have everything figured out, you become the place where uncertainty is allowed. That's powerful. Over time, something subtle shifts. She begins to associate clarity with your presence, not because you give answers, but because you don't add noise. Your calm becomes a psychological anchor, and anchors are rare in a world full of opinionated chaos. This is also where attraction deepens beyond surface chemistry. When a woman feels she can think out loud around you without being corrected, judged, or redirected, she experiences a sense of psychological partnership. Even if she doesn't label it that way, her nervous system recognizes it. And the nervous system doesn't lie. It remembers who brings peace and who brings pressure. Many men believe attraction is about excitement alone, but excitement without safety burns out. What lasts is the man who can sit in uncertainty without flinching, the man who doesn't need to control the future to feel valuable in the present. So if she shares her plans, her doubts, or her dreams with you, don't rush to define where you fit. Just be solid where you stand. Let her future unfold without interfere. And see, because when a woman starts inviting you into her sense of tomorrow, it means you've already earned something far more valuable than attention. You've earned relevance. And relevance is where attraction stops being accidental and starts becoming inevitable. When she starts sharing her insecurities with you, the parts of herself she normally hides, the doubts she doesn't post online, the fears she rarely admits out loud, you are no longer operating on the surface level of attraction. You've entered psychological intimacy. And this is where many men misunderstand what's actually happening. Insecurity is not weakness, it's exposure. People only expose what they believe will be handled with care. From a psychological standpoint, when a woman shares her insecurities, she is lowering her defensive armor. She is stepping out of performance mode. Around most people, she curates herself. Around you, she reveals herself. That shift alone tells you something profound. Her nervous system feels safe in your presence. This matters because attraction doesn't deepen through perfection. It deepens through permission, the permission to be incomplete without fear of rejection. When she talks about feeling not enough, about past failures, about comparing herself to others, she's not asking you to fix those feelings. She's subconsciously asking a more important question. If you see this side of me, will you still stay grounded? Here's where men often make a critical mistake. They rush to reassure. They say things like, "You shouldn't feel that way," or "You're perfect the way you are." While well-intentioned, this actually dismisses her inner experience. It tells her you're uncomfortable with her vulnerability, and if you're uncomfortable with it, she'll stop offering it. Strength in this moment looks very different. It looks like presence without panic. It looks like acknowledging her feelings without trying to erase them. When you can sit with her insecurity without becoming uneasy or overprotective, you demonstrate emotional authority. You show that her internal storms don't destabilize you and that steadiness is deeply attractive. Philosophically, this goes even deeper. To share insecurity is to confront the fear of being unchosen. When she opens that door, she is risking rejection at a fundamental level. Your calm response, your refusal to judge, rush, or rescue, communicates something powerful. I can see your imperfections without losing respect for you. And respect is the foundation of lasting desire. Over time, something subtle but significant happens. She begins to associate emotional relief with your presence. Not excitement, not drama, relief. And relief is addictive in a world that constantly demands performance. You become the place where she doesn't have to prove her worth. That psychological association rewires attraction at a deep level. This is also where trust accelerates. Once someone feels their insecurities are safe with you, our doors open naturally. Desires, dreams, fears about intimacy, even physical closeness. Not because you pushed for it, but because safety invites openness. Desire doesn't need pressure when it feels permission. Understand this clearly. When a woman shares her insecurities, she is not saying she is weak. She is saying she trusts you with her inner world, and inner worlds are not shared lightly. They are protected, guarded, only offered when the risk feels worth it. Your job is not to make her feel better in that moment. Your job is to make her feel understood. Those two are not the same. One is temporary comfort, the other is lasting connection. So when she shows you the parts of herself she doubts, don't rush to correct them, don't minimize them, stand steady, listen fully, let her feel seen without being fixed. Because the man who can hold someone's insecurity without flinching becomes more than attractive. He becomes irreplaceable when she begins to share her future with you, not in dramatic declarations, but in subtle language. You've crossed into the deepest layer of attraction. This isn't about her saying, "I want a relationship," or explicitly placing you in a long-term role. It's far more revealing than that. It's when she talks about plans months ahead and naturally includes you in the context. It's when she asks your opinion on decisions that don't need your input. It's when she wonders out loud about who she's becoming and pauses to see how you respond. Psycho. Logically, the future is where people place what they value most. We do not project forward with people we see as temporary. When a woman starts sharing her future thoughts, she is unconsciously testing continuity, whether you belong beyond the present moment. This is not a test you pass by impressing her. You pass it by being internally grounded. Many men misunderstand this phase and sabotage it by either clinging or performing. They hear future-oriented language and immediately try to secure it. They ask for guarantees, they push for labels, or worse, they overinvest emotionally and begin acting as if the future is already decided. This creates pressure, and pressure collapses attraction. What she is actually looking for in these moments is not certainty, it's stability. She wants to know whether your sense of self remains intact when time expands, whether you can hear her dreams without attaching your worth to being part of them, whether you remain calm instead of anxious when possibility appears. From a philosophical perspective, this is about alignment, not possession. Healthy desire is drawn to what is self-contained. When you listen to her future without trying to insert yourself forcefully into it, you signal that you are complete on your own, that you are choosing her presence, not needing it. And choice is infinitely more attractive than need. There's also a deeper psychological layer here. When someone shares their future, they are revealing values, what they are losing, what they hope to build. When she lets you see this, she's showing you her internal compass. If you respond by listening instead of steering, you demonstrate emotional leadership. You're not trying to control the direction. You're strong enough to walk alongside it. This is where trust turns into attachment, not anxious attachment, not dependency, but secure attachment, the kind where she feels free and connected at the same time. That balance is rare, and rarity creates desire. Another subtle sign within this key point is when she asks, "What do you think?" about things that matter to her future. This isn't about decision-making, it's about validation of perspective. She wants to know if your worldview resonates with hers, if the way you see life feels compatible with the way she wants to live. When your response is thoughtful rather than performative, you anchor yourself deeper into her emotional framework. And here's the part most men miss. You don't need to agree with everything. In fact, calm disagreement, when expressed with clarity and respect, often increases attraction. It shows you are not reshaping yourself to fit her future. You are inviting her to consider yours. When two futures can exist without one dominating the other, tension becomes magnetic instead of unstable. At this stage, attraction no longer relies on effort. It relies on presence, on how you listen, on how you speak without over-explaining, on how you allow space instead of rushing to define it. If she is sharing her future with you, the game is no longer about winning her over. That part is already done. The only question left is whether you will remain centered enough not to lose what you've already earned, because the man who can stand calmly in the present while the future unfolds naturally is the man she won't imagine her future without.